Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. In ancient China, nursing mothers, also known as wet nurses, played a crucial role in ancient Chinese imperial harems. After concubines gave birth to princes, the responsibility of breastfeeding was entirely entrusted to wet nurses. Why did princes, who had their own mothers, still need a wet nurse? There are two main reasons. First, to prevent overly close mother-son relationships that could lead to power struggles among the princes. Second, to prevent the birth mother from interfering in state affairs after the prince ascended the throne. Throughout history, most emperors felt indebted to their wet nurses for nurturing them and, upon ascending the throne, would grant titles and rewards to the wet nurse's family, some even allowing favored wet nurses to enter the political stage, embarking on legendary journeys. As the saying goes, repay kindness with kindness. How did emperors repay this favor to their wet nurses? The ways were diverse. Emperor Shun of Han, Lu Bao, titled his wet nurse, Song, as Lady Shanyang. Emperor An of Han, Lu Hu, titled his wet nurse, Wang, as Lady Yuang. Emperor Zhongzong of Tang, Li Xian, titled his wet nurse, Yu, as Lady Enping. Emperor Chengzong of Yuan, Timur Khan, titled his wet nurse's husband as Duke Shogua. Emperor Renzong of Ming, Zhu Gaoji, titled his wet nurse as Madame Xusheng Gonghui. However, in Chinese history, there were three notable wet nurses, one virtuous, one tragic, and one ruthless. First, the most virtuous wet nurse, the wet nurse of Emperor Taiwu, Tuoba Tao of Northern Wei. During the Northern Wei dynasty, to prevent the dominance of the imperial clan, Emperor Daowu of the Wei dynasty established a peculiar rule: establish a son, kill the mother. This meant that if a prince wanted to ascend the throne, he must sacrifice his mother's life. The crown prince, deprived of his mother, poured all his maternal love onto his wet nurse. When Emperor Daowu's crown prince, Tuoba Tao, lost his birth mother, he became extremely attached to his wet nurse, Do Shi. After ascending the throne as Emperor Taiwu, out of gratitude for Do Shi's meticulous care, he first honored his wet nurse Do Shi as Empress Dowager, later promoting her to Empress Dowager. Fortunately, Do Shi was a highly virtuous wet nurse who, despite holding significant power over life and death in the harem, never committed any improper acts, always being approachable and kind, leaving behind an excellent reputation. It is said that when the virtuous Empress Dowager Do Shi passed away, Emperor Taiwu was so devastated that he ordered 3 days of mourning, a display of deep gratitude. Second, the most tragic wet nurse, the wet nurse of Emperor Wu of Han, Guo Shi. The wet nurse of Emperor Wu of Han, Lu Che, was Guo Shi, the mother of Dongwu Marquis. After Lu Che became emperor, not only did he enfeoff her son as Marquis, but he also followed her every word. Whenever Guo Shi visited Emperor Wu of Han, he would reward her with silks and fabrics. Anything Guo Shi liked, Emperor Wu readily gave it to her. She could ride in a carriage on the imperial road designated for the emperor's use. The situation in the court was such that courtiers and ministers all respected the wet nurse. Empowered by Emperor Wu's favor, Guo Shi became overbearing and lawless, even resorting to robbery and extortion from the common people, becoming a bandit. She even engaged in the corrupt practice of selling official titles. When Emperor Wu learned of this, he was reluctant to punish her. However, officials in charge of criminal law suggested moving her and her family to the border. Guo Shi then tearfully pleaded with Emperor Wu for mercy, recalling her nurturing him in his childhood. Touched, Emperor Wu issued a pardon for her. As a result, Guo Shi avoided exile. But thereafter, Guo Shi fell out of Emperor Wu's favor, relegated to the cold palace, becoming lonely and despondent. Without power or influence, Guo Shi died in sadness. Third, the most ruthless wet nurse, Lady Ku, the wet nurse of Emperor Xianzong of Ming, Zhu Yushao. Emperor Zhu Yushao of the Ming Dynasty was an exceptional woodworker, unfortunately born into the imperial family. Emperor Zhu Yushao was devoted to woodworking, spending his days in the harem crafting wooden items, thoroughly enjoying himself. His woodworking skills were excellent, with his furniture rivaling that of top craftsmen. It is said that the beds in the palace were very heavy, and many people could not lift them. He spent over a year designing a foldable, lightweight, and beautiful bed. The furniture designed by Emperor Zhu Yuxiao was partly kept for personal use and partly sold outside the palace. Emperor Zhu Yuxiao's devotion to woodworking, coupled with neglecting state affairs, delegating them to the eunuch Wei Zhongxian, and elevating his wet nurse to noble consort, hastened the downfall of the Ming Dynasty. Emperor Zhu Yuxiao was raised by Lady Ku since childhood. Lady Ku had stunning beauty and married and gave birth at the age of 18. However, with great ambition, she abandoned her husband and child to enter the imperial palace when the court recruited wet nurses. Lady Ku was fortunate to become the wet nurse of Prince Zhu Yuxiao. When Zhu Yuxiao was 13 years old, he was attracted to Lady Ku. Due to her charm and his maternal love, after Zhu Yuxiao became emperor, he titled Lady Ku as a noble consort. This caused widespread opposition among courtiers. However, Zhu Yuxiao insisted on marrying Lady Ku, whose power soon surpassed that of the empress. Emperor Zhu Yuxiao doted on Lady Ku, granting high ranks to her family, allowing them unrestricted access to the palace, and heeded her every word. All courtiers bowed and paid respects to her, addressing her as Mother Ku. It is said that every year on Lady Ku's birthday, Emperor Zhu Yuxiao personally extended his wishes, creating a grand spectacle. Not only did he offer gold, silver, and jewels, but he also built her a palace. Emperor Zhu Yuxiao even cooked for Lady Ku to make her happy. Lady Ku subsequently bore offspring for Emperor Zhu Yuxiao, and he immediately named the child as the crown prince. Emperor's maternal love not only elevated the wet nurse to noble consort but also had her bear offspring for him. However, despite Lady Ku's exceptional beauty, she was promiscuous, cruel, and ruthless. If Emperor Zhu Yuxiao loved only woodworking and not the affairs of state, Lady Ku loved only eunuchs and not the emperor as empress. While enjoying Emperor Zhu Yuxiao's favor, Lady Ku entered into a nominal marriage with the eunuch Wei Zhongxian. Wei Zhongxian was Emperor Zhu Yuxiao's most trusted favorite, and together, the two wielded immense power. With Lady Ku's help, Wei Zhongxian reached unprecedented heights of power, but his actions led to the rapid decline of the Ming Dynasty, playing a catalytic role. However, this prosperity did not last long. Shortly after becoming empress, Lady Ku's husband, Emperor Zhu Yuxiao, fell into the water while boating and died from shock. After Emperor Zhu Yuxiao's death, his brother inherited the throne. After collecting numerous charges against Lady Ku and Wei Zhongxian, he eventually executed the notorious Lady Ku and Wei Zhongxian together, marking the end of Lady Ku's ruthless reign. This is History and Culture channel. Like and subscribe are the biggest help and support for us. Thank you everyone. See you next time.